Okay, working on a Gorgar. Pretty much the standard fare for a Williams System 6. Had scan B sockets. Down here, I replaced 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 40 pin up here. Somebody had already replaced the RAM. I put a new Philips low power RAM in and a coin battery, like these coin batteries. Somebody before me did this. So instead of having the 40 pin interconnect, well, I guess they still have it, they individualized it, which is kind of weird. But you know what, it actually works really well. I mean, I don't recommend doing this, but you know, I'm not going to replace it because the customer won't see any benefit to putting a standard one in. It works either way. He did have 3 ROMs up here that I combined into a single IC14 right there. That helps a lot. If you go order my pile of crap that I replaced over here, you can see these were the 3 ROMs that I pulled out and you can replace with the 1. That just makes the game more reliable. It's 1 socket that you have to replace instead of these 3. So it's cool. Okay. Fuse was blown for the coils. That's real typical. So I put my little circuit breaker thing in there. Turn the game on. It does have no sound. I have not tackled that problem yet. There's a problem with the soundboard, but we'll get to that. Okay, so the game comes up. You can see it's in attract mode. Displays all working. Oh, another thing we did is that this segment right here was not working, and that was a bad resistor, 10K resistor right there. Put that in and it works. All standard stuff that we've covered before. But here's a weird one. Look at the drop targets. Okay, so they go down just fine. But watch when I start a game. Start a game. Okay, it's playing some sound. It's going to reset the drop targets. But look, this one won't go down. Hear the buzz? It's locked on. Turn it off. Turn it back on. It's not locked on. So that means if it's not locked on in immediate power up, the associated transistor, which is this guy right here, which is transistor number 21, is probably not the problem, but it's going to be some driving circuitry behind it. Okay, so how did I know it was this transistor? Well, it's actually pretty easy. Let me turn this light off and you'll see it better. I'm going to start a game and reset, locked on. Watch when I pull this connector. See that little spark? See that? I don't know, there it goes again. See it? Well, anyways, that's how I identified which transistor it was. Then you can just follow it back, or you can look in the manual, but if you didn't have a manual, that'd be one way to do it. Anyways, I'm pretty sure it's not this, because if it was a bad tip transistor, that coil would have locked on as soon as I power the game on. It only powers on when you start a game. So that means that it can only be 2 things. The controlling IC right here, which is I think a 7408 or an 02, I forget which, or the PIA that controls it. Now, I'm banking on the PIA because if you look right there, I don't know if you can see it, but it's AMI brand. Oh God, I hate these AMI brand PIA chips. They're always bad. So let's go to the schematics and have a little look. So here's the schematics, and if we go right to here, here's Q21. Goes back to our pre-driver transistor, and again, I don't think these are the problem. It basically has to be IC1, which is 7408, but that goes directly back to pin 5 of the solenoid PIA. So it's got to be one of those 2 things, and what we can do to tell which one is we have to look at the schematic, or with a logic probe at the signals. But first, let me just tell you a couple things. Like this 7408, what you can see is it's got a leg. All these ones have a leg tied. This is the blanking signal. That's what this is. So this has to go high, and the signal from the PIA has to go high. And when both of those things are high, then this guy fires. So the computer controls the PIA. Normally that signal would be low, and then the drop targets all go down, or you start a game and it wants to reset the drop targets. It momentarily sets pin 5 high. Along with the mix of the high from the blanking, it fires the transistor. That's how this works. So since we know that, we can use a logic probe to see, in fact, what is happening. So my meter has a logic probe built into it, and that's what I'm going to use. I have one end on ground, and then this is my probe. I have the solenoid fuse out, and a game started. So we're in the middle of a game. If I put this in, you'll see this guy will immediately lock on. So that's why we pull that guy out. So let's trace our signals here. Let's start here at the PIA. We need pin 5. So this is the solenoid PIA. Let's look at pin 5. And look, you can see that little arrow right there. Here, I'll flash it on and off by taking my probe on and off. See how it's high? It's going high, that guy right there. See that? High means that it's trying to fire that coil. It should never be locked on like that. Like if we compare it to the pin before it, you can see it's low. And that's how it should be, low, because then when the computer fires that transistor, it just sets it high just for a minute. So you can see it's high. That means that this PIA is bad. It shouldn't be locked on high. But if we also then want to go down to this guy, this is showing, this is our 7408. We've got the 2 inputs and the outputs. So if we have input 1, input 2, and then the last one would be what fires it. So we can see our 2 inputs are high. Now let's compare it to the one before it. If we look at pin 4 and 5 on a different coil, you can see you got a low, and then you got your blanking high. So this low comes from the PIA, okay, and then this high comes from the blanking, and then you get an output which is low. Okay, so that's how it works, and then the PIA toggles that other one high. You get 2 highs, and you get 2 highs on this gate. It ends up with a high here, which triggers all these transistors and fires a coil. But in our case, it's permanently high. Look at that. It is permanently high. It should not be permanently high. So for this reason, we're going to replace the PIA. And this is really a nice way to do this because you don't start shotgunning stuff and taking a million chips out, you know, or replacing transistors that in fact weren't even bad. We just replaced the one thing that we know is really bad. So I have a game started. And you can see the drop targets go down a lot. Drop target is not locked on. I go up to my freshly installed PIA, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and look. See, now it's a low signal, just like the one next to it. It's low, and then when it fires, it's going to go high, and that, with conjunction with a high blanking signal, is what fires the circuits and gets your drop target to go up. And just to show you, I will put all these down, and then I will put the ball in the out hole, and you'll put the ball in the out hole, and it should reset our drop targets like it should. So just one more time. That was the end of the game. So let's start a game. Playing the song, the beginning sound, which we don't have. Come on, spit out the ball. Goes up. So you can see our drop targets are now working as they should, and they're not locked on. Should probably talk about the blanking signal. The blanking signal is generated by the CPU board. It's a high signal that comes from the CPU board over to all the PIA chips here. Basically, it enables the game. It tells all the PIAs that, hey, the game is up and running, because normally the circuitry makes this blanking signal low, which means that none of the displays, lights, or solenoids or switches should come on. But when the blanking system's high, it says, okay, everything's running as it should be. You know, score displays are on and all that stuff, and you can make the game run. So that's the purpose of the blanking signal. That's why it is. And when we saw it on the schematics, it was tagged along all those chips, and it needed to be high, and in conjunction with the high from this guy, it actually fires the coil. That way, if the game was in the CPU board was locked on, and you turn the game on, now the coils wouldn't lock on and burn up everything. That's why they did the blanking signal. It was just like a safety procedure. But anyways, I hope this is helpful. There you go, Gorgar, with a coil lock-on problem. Now I just got to go and figure out the soundboard problem. Another video, no doubt.